Couple more businesses, or I guess jobs that are pretty hot. I've had a couple of people reach out after just touching base on that. This was a segment we did after 8 o'clock yesterday, but we heard about roofers, asphalt layers. We also heard about HVAC workers and so on. But since then, I've had delivery truck drivers announce that indeed they have to put up with hot temperatures. Even had somebody else reach out and say garbage men. That's a hot job, no question about it. That's a hot and stinky job. And somebody else reaching out saying that you've also got prisons. Where people are working, and it's a hot time over in prisons, especially if they're having some problems with their HVAC systems. One says, definitely corrections. The last 2 days, the walls and floors were sweating so bad it looked like a flood in the building. So that just tells you just how hot things can be. But all of that, of course, is adding to the concerns about energy. And are we going to have enough energy to run those air units to make sure your appliances are running properly, to ensure that you've got enough power to run your business, let alone some of the other just regular amenities that we have. Now, it's not quite time yet for rolling blackouts, but an alert issued yesterday by the Mid-Continent Independent System Operators, which serves much of Illinois, could be the first step in preparing for such actions. So this is obviously an issue that we've heard about. We've heard warnings about for weeks, something that we even talked with Doug Brown from CWLP about last month. And this is an ongoing issue. But MISO's maximum generation alert was issued yesterday, and it's for today from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the market footprint. A similar warning was issued by MISO Monday for its southern region. Now, the nation split up among a bunch of different energy grids. MISO takes most of the Illinois geographic area. You've got the PJM, which is the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland sector. They issued a hot weather alert, and that's for the northernmost part of the state and a bunch of areas that are east of Chicago. So they also issued a warning. But what this ultimately means is just an advisory, all right? And it's not the elevated warning or event stage, but the next advisories could require electric utilities to request energy conservation and implement rolling blackouts or power outages. Now, when we talked with Springfield Chief Engineer for City Water, Light and Power, Doug Brown, last month, he laid out some of this. You're going to hear from him. You're also going to hear from Governor J.B. Pritzker about some of the questions of what's causing this energy crunch. So here's that back and forth from Doug Brown from last month and Governor J.B. Pritzker from last week. Here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.
So when MISO calls for they'll give us alerts and they'll give us warnings, in the day. So that's okay. We'll start preparing our plans, making sure everything's ready to go. And then if they get to the next phase, then we would actually notify those customers. And then the next phase after that, we have a more broader public appeal to conserve power. So that's the first step. The rolling blackout is definitely a last resort. It's something that we don't want to do. But in order to support the regional grid, as we're really required to do that. And it's also a mutual aid, right? So if our units are down, we can pull off the grid. So we have to belong to it. We have to do our part, though, to support it. We don't want it to collapse. It's, the markets are all kind of converging on a lot of different issues that are kind of driving. It's not just one particular thing. There's just a lot of different things that are causing these plants to retire. So it's a huge risk for, large, when you have to invest over $50 million into those units to make them compliant with environmental regulations. That's what's happened. Regulation after regulation basically has shut down coal plants. And we're starting to see those effects rather rapidly.
It's a problem that requires more energy generation. We passed a bill that does just that. That's precisely what CEJA does. It puts more energy online, solar and wind. It does nothing to immediately close coal or other electric producers. those will be closed over a number of years, natural gas as well, over a number of years, but not immediately. So what we're talking about this summer is the challenge of making sure that we bring online as much energy as possible. We also are talking about other states, surrounding states that aren't producing enough energy.
So again, that's Governor J.B. Pritzker seeming to contend that the efforts to close coal-fired power plants in Illinois by 2045 and the national trend from regulators isn't the reason for the crunch. But others are saying that it's the regulations that means energy providers aren't going to invest into what has been the standard for decades, and that's coal-fired power plants. So interesting to hear that back and forth. But with what we have seen so far, with these alerts being put out there, CWLP suggesting some energy conservation. Now, it's not mandatory, and the next phase could be a request for voluntary energy conservation. But they say set your thermostat to 70 degrees or higher, use floor or ceiling fans to cool off occupied rooms, turn off lights when not needed, postpone major appliance use like, washing machines, dryers, and dishwashers, unplug unnecessary appliances, turn off or disconnect electronics that aren't being used like printers, copiers, coffee makers, televisions, and charging devices. And also something you could do is shade west-facing windows in the afternoon hours to reduce solar heat from when the sun starts going down. So there you go. It's what we're facing here. It's going to be an interesting summer to see as we get more temperatures increasing. We're going to have a little bit of a minor cool down, if you want to call that a cool down, with a high up to still upper 80s later on this week. But early next week, it looks like the temperature is going to rocket right back up into the lower 90s, if not even warmer. So we'll keep you posted on all of that when it comes to energy and your ability to stay cool during the summer months here. Real quick, let's take a call, 217-629-7970. Good morning. You are on WMAY. What's up?
Didn't they shut down a couple of generators there at City Water Light and Power?
Yeah, right now it's just Unit 4, and they've got some peaking units, but several of the mainstays aren't operating right now for a variety of reasons, not because of regulations necessarily, but just because of the increased cost to repair some of those particular facilities. All right, appreciate the call, and hopefully we'll keep you posted on everything that happens when it comes to energy consumption.